Hey, full throttle kind of guy checking in. Saturday, working on something a little bit new. Well, I've worked on them in the past, but this is a new one for me right now. Anyways, it's going to be kind of a two-topic thing today. One, it's going to be a reveal of the latest in the lineup of cars, and it's kind of cool, at least in my opinion. What anybody else thinks, it's kind of irrelevant. But the one thing I'll be doing and addressing right now is vapor lock. I live in the Northwest, and they're changing over gas right now to the ethanol blend, and it's just horrible gas for older cars. And for some reason in particular, from what my personal experience is, your mileage may vary, with Mopars and Edelbrock carbs, sometimes when people get those cars, they don't set them up right. Anybody, for that matter. I mean, you got to look at the big picture. So, without further ado, we'll take a look at the car, and I'll point out some different things for you. So, picked it up a couple of weeks ago, installed a new radiator. Old one was just garbage. But here we go. So this is the newest one. Got some plans for it. Don't want to talk about it just yet, but you'll see as it happens. But here we go. So it's a 74 Dodge Dart Swinger. It's powered by a 318 stout motor with a 904 combination. Pretty straight car. Looks like it was originally gold with a gold interior. Kind of like the Krager touch to it. That's kind of cool. So it has its typical issues, especially with it being an ex vinyl top car. It's going to need some doctoring for some of the panels, and some of the prior owners didn't really do a decent job in resolving it by installing a gasket, or, for instance, with a windshield wiper, the seals, those things are just trash. So that'll need to be replaced. And of course, the floorboard itself needs a little bit of work. Not too bad. It's not like my X-ray vision ones in my Galaxy and that, but the 318 itself it's actually pretty tired. Wasn't taken very well care of. Pardon my shadow in the backdrop. But, good color, rather unique color. Kind of looks like a bronze with a metallic finish. But, like I said, overall straight car. Complete, runs. So, a couple of things that's going on. Biggest thing was the old radiator just gave up the ghost. And, after 45, 46 years of honorable service, hey, I would too. So, ordered one off of online. That was part of the ordeal that I talked about last week. We're dealing with FedEx and just travesty that's going on. Well, anyways, the car has a pretty crazy vapor lock situation going on, and I had gotten some really rancid gas, and it was even more prevalent at that point in time. So I figured before I drop a different motor into it, because that's what's going to happen. I've already got one lined up. I wanted to address some of the low-hanging issues and kind of get that helped out. Now, the one thing that really jumps out, and I had a 74 Dodge Charger, and it had that funky charcoal canister set up. So this is going to be part of the solution. There's a piece I'm waiting on that I just ordered. It should be in at 3 o'clock today. But one thing that will jump out is the way that the fuel line itself is routed. Granted, it's routed away from the block. Tons of rubber hose. I don't think it's the high pressure quality type. It might be, but if you're going to run it at any track or whatever, again, there's a limitation on the amount of rubber that you can have. So I'm going to refab a different line. I'm going to reroute it differently. And then the one thing that just absolutely kills me is the way that it just goes up and around, and It's just absolutely crazy. Now, when I was talking about Edelbrock carburetors, I am not knocking Edelbrock carburetors. I really like them. This car really is just going to be a cruiser. I'm going to have a little bit warmer of a motor for it, and just so I can enjoy it, go on drives and cruise with the family, and that's it. So the one thing that really jumps out the moment, if you get a car like this, you'll see where the Performer and the Edelbrock carburetor meet. There's just the standard gasket in there. Those are so thin. Well, they're prone, especially if you've got a vapor lock issue, to boiling out. And that's what happened to me just the other day. It was just boiling out like nobody's business. The car would start, even if it stalled at a stoplight, so it wasn't too severe. But again, I'd rather be proactive and do the right thing. Now, I do have a fan shroud. I just have to now reconfigure it because this radiator is bigger. But the fan shroud that it was originally with was narrower width-wise. Height-wise, we're okay. So I'm just going to have to fab up a couple of aluminum brackets and jump them across, and so where I can center this and I can still have that. I think I've got a substitute in place that I might go with rather than just using a standard fan like that. I'm not just sure yet. I just, like I said, I've got to make sure that it'll clear. But I have a clutch unit from an AC car, and I think that may also help. Another thing that I found was this hose is of the water pump variety, so any amount of pressure, this thing is going to collapse. So if it's purging water and then trying to bleed off steam or heat, especially with heat soak, today's gas, and everybody talks about it, if you read up on it you'll see the same thing, that the boiling point is much lower because of all the chemical composites in gas nowadays. So especially when you're trying to meet emissions and whatnot. As you can tell, 74, no cats, no nothing, just rock and roll straight out the door and just go. So I'm not really worried about emissions, anything like that. So that's always going to be a problem in these cars. So I digress. Let's go ahead and I'll take you over to some of the parts that I'm going to be using. Looking into this, and there are several content, several different pages. Uncle Tony kind of talks about it in one. I'm going to get the 3-pronged fuel filter, and I'm going to have it vent back to one of the lines that goes back to the tank, and so it's constantly on a loop and it keeps from boiling out. But here's the shroud that'll go back, and so one common denominator, if you don't have a shroud and you're experiencing vapor lock, this is going to be one of your contributing factors. This is my opinion, and this is the other things I've read online and looked up online when it comes to that. I've got a good radiator, so we know that's not part of the problem. But when the fan doesn't have the vacuum to pull the cooler air through, and it's just jamming hot air all over the engine and boiling it out, the fuel pump's getting hot, and that's when you start to percolate everything. So everything from that line going all the way up. I know people are going to say, well, rubber, it doesn't do it as much as metal, but it's still doing it nonetheless. That's part of the reason why I could still start the car and even at a stoplight, hit it and get it. So I've got most of the tools that I think I'm going to be needing to kind of pull the job off itself. Like I said, I'm just waiting on a filter. I'm going to pick up some night copper line to hand fab the fuel line. I use my little benders in that, so you don't really need that. I do. I'm kind of a perfectionist like that, but let's see how that goes from there. But overall, the car also has like a really weird characteristic where I think there's a broken flex plate in there, because every once in a while it'll just make this really weird deep rattle, and I think also the timing isn't right on the car. But then again, when you're using gas that's 85 octane or 86 octane or whatever the garbage is itself, it's going to boil out. And so I think the lower the octane, I think the boiling point, the stability is even worse. So again, just my opinion from everything I've read and looked up online. I'm not a fuel specialist, anything like that. But overall, I think it's a pretty cool little project. Just waiting on titling and paperwork to come in so I can be legal to drive it. Like I said, it does start, does go. So it's a nice little way to dip my toe back into the Mopar pool. And some of the guys I'm online with, and we kind of talk about it, a little Mopar group. It's like just Mopar Joe, Mopar Nut 62, Bigfoots and Mopars. They're really cool cats. So anyways, kind of missed having the Mopars and that, so I had a chance to kind of get into it, on the cheap. That's one thing on Mopars too. It kills me too, because a lot of times people who have Mopars, you'll hear a lot of flack on, what a terrible car they are. They're not really that fast. Working on everything's expensive, this, that, and the other thing. Trying to buy Mopars now because, whatever factor you want to consider, whether it's like discovery, auctions, people wearing mom jeans, pricing vehicles out of everybody's range. There's a lot of different factors on it, but I feel kind of bad because kids of today, they're going to be priced out. And now you know why people are going to like Hondas and Toyotas or imports, because they're dirt cheap. Well, something like this, the Swinger, and it being a Dart, for a lot of people, it's now really considered a real popular year because everybody wants like the 67, 68, all the way to like 72 or whatever. Again, it's the same car, just happens to be different bumpers thanks to the federal regulations on 73, 74. But dude, it's the same car. So if anything, if you're looking to get into a Mopar, do it on the cheap. Consider the big bumper cars. You might save yourself some money, but again, the learning experience, and for me, it's I've had several Mopars in the past, so it's just like falling off a bike. So anyhow, I'll let you know what I get everything set up. I get my filter. The filter I intend to use, the one that I found, it's a Wix filter, WIX 33086. Again, Wix 33086. Great filter. It has that bleed off to prevent vapor lock. And I also have a gasket, an Edelbrock gasket, 9266, which is the nice thick like composite gasket that they sell, but they never include with the carburetors. So you figure, what the hell? You can normally get that for around 25 bucks. The filter I'm picking up is like $5. But again, to make this car where once it is warm and you can drive, want to go up to the beach or go up into the mountains or whatever, I'm not going to have to worry about vapor lock. And I want to eliminate that factor now, so it's one less wild card. Electrically, the car's fine. Shocker. Everything works on it. AM radio doesn't pick up anything, but I don't really care. I'll leave it because I'm kind of a purist on that. But a fun little car. And so if anybody, like I said, again, you're looking to kind of get into a Mopar, you haven't had one in a while, and you're looking to do it on the cheap, 73, 74 might be it, even 75. Who knows? I like 74 because no DEQ or emissions regulations that I have to go through. It's a lot less cumbersome and one less expense, because emissions around here to run DEQ, I think it's like over 119 bucks. So 119 bucks I don't have to worry about every 2 years. So anyways, that's my Saturday. This is the new car. If you have any questions, comments, whatever, hit me up. I'll be more than happy to answer back. Go easy on me. And again, everybody have a fun, healthy, safe weekend, and get out there and go work on something. Appreciate it. Bye.